Heartwarming twist. Billionaire CEO hires an actress as his sister's fake bride. What was revealed? Sarah stood behind the counter of the bustling diner, her fingers rhythmically pouring coffee, while her heart drifted far beyond the cramped walls. At 28, dreams of acting danced just out of reach, reminding her of the sparkle she once saw in her own eyes. Now, in a quaint suburban town, she watched patrons leave with smiles, sipping their steaming cups of joy. Each cheerful departure felt like a heavy weight pressing down on her weary soul. Life had changed. With her mother's illness demanding every last penny, Sarah felt chained to this diner, a tattered apron replacing her once bright aspirations. "Another day, another dollar," she muttered under her breath, forcing a smile as she caught the eye of a regular customer, Miss Betty, who waved back with a wrinkled hand. In that simple gesture, Sarah found a flicker of hope. Yet it was fleeting, swallowed by the reality of late bills and doctor's appointments. Then came the whirlwind that was Ethan. At 32, he was a billionaire CEO, yet he walked into the diner like a storm, dressed in tailored clothes that shimmered in the fluorescent lights. Sarah felt the instant pull. He looked so out of place, yet oddly familiar. She remembered every rumor she had heard about him, trapped by his family's expectations, unable to break free from their suffocating image. Little did she know, today would change everything. Ethan's sister's engagement had just imploded at a family affair. In a moment of desperate, panicked thought, he spotted Sarah, a glimmer of authenticity amidst the stark, upscale world he inhabited. With the promise of a hefty paycheck to help with her mother's care, he nervously proposed an outlandish idea. "Would you pretend to be my sister's fiancé just for a few days?" The request hung in the air, crazy yet enticing. In that instant, Sarah's tight chest loosened ever so slightly. Could this be the leap she needed? "All right," she agreed, her heart racing. As they embarked on this elaborate charade, something started to shift. They were not just playing roles, they began to unveil layers of their true selves amidst the glittering glitz of Ethan's world. Every playful banter, every shy smile blossomed into genuine warmth as their lives intertwined. Soon they found themselves at an extravagant dinner with Ethan's family, an atmosphere thick with unspoken tension. As they navigated through lavish dishes and hurtful whispers exchanged across the table, Sarah's heart pounded. Suddenly, the facade began to crack. A minor confrontation erupted between Ethan and his mother, revealing a web of tightly knit expectations that bound them all. "You don't have to live for them," Sarah urged, her voice steady though her hands trembled. The room fell silent, all eyes fixed on her. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With every heart-wrenching revelation at that table, both Sarah and Ethan faced their fears. Her humble beginning challenged his entitlement, while his privileged perspective nudged her to rise above her struggles. They grappled with their identities, both human and familial, caught in a spiraling dance of shame and pride. In that charged moment, with emotions boiling high, Sarah's voice rang clear like a bell. "What we choose to be defines us more than where we come from." The tension was palpable, and in that stillness, they finally saw the truth about each other and the walls they'd built. As laughter escaped the clutches of tension and vulnerabilities surfaced, it was clear. They were both on a path of awakening. But just as their connection deepened, The world around them felt more complicated than ever. What started as a charade might just lead them to a place of self-discovery. Little did they know, this was just the beginning of an emotional journey that would challenge everything they believed in. What awaited them next? Ethan sat back in his chair, his hands clenching the armrests as silence enveloped the room. Sarah's words hung in the air like a subtle breeze shifting through the heavy burdens they both carried. The weight of expectations settled on Ethan's shoulders, so familiar yet so suffocating. As he looked across the table at his mother, her eyes glassy and unforgiving, Ethan felt a crack in the facade he had built. "You don't understand, Mom," she snapped, the coldness in her voice biting. "It's not about the reputation, Mom. It's about being able to live our own lives." His voice was louder now, shaking with passion and frustration as all eyes turned to him, including Sarah's. She saw the turmoil writ large on his face, the conflict between the man he wanted to be and the son they all expected him to remain. It was a battle she understood all too well. Feeling the tension rise again, Sarah took a deep breath. "I didn't come here to steal anyone's spotlight," she said quietly. "I'm just trying to help. We all want to be seen for who we really are, right?" Those words landed with the weight of truth. Suddenly, the dinner table that had felt like a battleground started to dissolve, if only slightly. Ethan's mother blinked as if Sarah had just cracked her protective shell, revealing glimpses of the humanity she had long buried. But before any resolve could solidify, his sister, Claire, interjected with a self-pitying laugh. "Well, if you really wanted to help, maybe you'd get your own life together first." The jab stung, but Sarah quickly regained her composure. Instead of retreating, she leaned in. "You think it's easy? I'm doing everything I can to hold it all together, just like you." Ethan caught the fire in her voice. Such defiance, such spirit. He felt an urge to stand beside her, to protect her, to let the world see what he saw. At that moment, their shared burdens felt lighter, spirited away by brave words that carved a small path through the tension. Something shifted. There was an unspoken agreement in the air. They were both battling inner demons, fighting for self-acceptance in a world that often misunderstood them. This was more than just a fake engagement. They were beginning to see each other's real worth behind the glossy images wrapped around their lives. But just as the connection threatened to deepen, the phone on the table buzzed loudly. Ethan's mother glanced over, her expression turning cold again. "I'll take this in another room," she said, pushing her chair back with force. As she stood, the crackling tension returned, and with it came a familiar dread. "Uh-oh," Claire mumbled, smirking. "Looks like your new friend is in for a reality check, Ethan. Mom won't appreciate that little outburst." Ethan shot her a glare, but Claire simply shrugged. He could feel the walls closing in. Had they really made any progress tonight, or had they merely danced around the truth? Before he could dwell on the question, his mother returned, her eyes blazing. "I will not tolerate this. You will conform or you'll regret it." Sarah's breath hitched as the familiar specter of constraint loomed over their moment of breakthrough. She could feel Ethan's tension ramp up again. He was trapped in a web of expectations and fear, and she wanted to help him break free. In the silence that followed, Ethan turned to her, eyes desperate yet hopeful as he whispered, "I don't want to be that man anymore, but what if I can't change?" Sarah met his gaze, her chest tightening with emotion. "We'll figure this out together. Just trust me." As their hands brushed against each other, both felt a surge of determination. But lurking in the shadows was an enigmatic phone call that had the power to unravel everything they'd begun to build together. What secrets were yet to be uncovered, and how would the past pull at their newfound connection? Each moment felt suspended in time, and Sarah wondered if they were strong enough to withstand the challenges ahead. When the night ended, they were left with more questions than answers. Would they indeed become free of their family's expectations, or would they find themselves ensnared in a web of obligation once again? Ethan's heart raced as he sat alone at the dining table, the echoes of his mother's threat still ringing in his ears. The warmth that had momentarily bloomed between him and Sarah felt like a faint ember against the cold reality of his family's expectations. He stared at the empty chair across from him, missing the comfort it had offered just moments ago. Claire's laughter and his mother's disapproval hung heavily in the air. "Why do we always do this?" he muttered to himself, frustration snaking through him. It was the same cycle, heated moments followed by silence, promises of change swallowed by fear. He wanted to break free, to claw his way out of this cage, but the bars felt like they were forged from the very fabric of his family's legacy. Sarah appeared in the doorway, uncertainty clouding her usually vibrant demeanor. "Ethan?" She stepped cautiously forward, her eyes searching his for something. What? He wasn't sure. Understanding? Connection? "Yeah?" He managed to pull himself from worry's grasp, focusing on her instead. "I just wanted to check on you." Her voice was soft, inviting him to share the weight pressing down on him. "I know tonight was complicated." "Complicated, that's one way to put it," he replied, the sarcasm not lost on him as it slipped out. He ran his hand through his hair. "Every time I think I can be myself, something comes crashing down. It's exhausting." She stepped a little closer, and he could see the flicker of understanding in her eyes. "You don't have to carry this alone. We're a team now, remember?" The memory of their earlier connection pulsed in his chest. "What if I can't break free? What if this is all I'm meant to be?" His voice was barely above a whisper now, laden with doubt. Ethan hated feeling this way, vulnerable in the face of his own fears. Sarah reached out, her fingers brushing against his again. "Every person has the ability to change. It starts with believing in yourself, even if the world doesn't see it yet." He met her gaze, something inside him shifting as he absorbed her words. She believed in him. For once, it felt he had someone in his corner, pushing him towards the light. The door swung open unexpectedly, and Claire burst in, her usual smugness replaced by a surprising sincerity. "Ethan," she blurted out, catching them both off guard. "I just wanted to say, maybe we're all a little messed up, but that doesn't mean we can't try to fix it." Surprise flickered between Ethan and Sarah. In a weird way, it was a relief to hear Claire admit they were all struggling. "Are you really offering us a peace treaty?" Ethan asked, his disbelief evident. "Maybe," she sighed, her shoulders dropping. "Mom may be impossible, but we can't let her expectations dictate us forever. It's time we figure out our own destinies." Sarah's eyes widened at this unexpected outburst, and Ethan felt a spark of hope. Could they really start carving out their own identities? Together? "Let's take it one day at a time," Sarah suggested, her voice steady and soothing. "Exactly," added Claire, surprising them both. "No more pretending. If you need to be with Sarah or break away from Mom, I'm here too." Ethan blinked at his sister, a flush of gratitude warming him. "Thanks, Claire. That actually means a lot." But before they could wrap their heads around this newfound alliance, the phone buzzed again, this time indicating an incoming video call. All eyes darted toward the screen where their mother's name appeared, a storm brewing with every second that passed. Ethan's heart plummeted. "Is it too late to run?" he joked, but deep down, dread gnawed at him. "Whatever happens, we handle it together," Sarah said, squeezing his hand tightly. With the latest unraveling threat looming above them, the three of them headed into uncertain waters, united yet trembling at what awaited on the other side of the screen. What would his mother say? Would their fragile alliance stand against the tempest they were about to face? Ethan swallowed hard, every question mixed with a rush of determination. The screen flickered to life, bringing with it the flawless image of Ethan's mother, her expression perfectly composed, but there was a fire in her eyes that sent a chill through the room. "Ethan," she began, her voice smooth as silk, laced with an underlying sharpness. "I assume you're all gathered for this little chat." Ethan felt the weight of her gaze, the unspoken judgment forcing him to straighten his back. "Yeah, we are," he replied, trying to sound confident, but failing to mask the tremor in his voice. "Good. I trust we can discuss the future of this family without any theatrics. I won't tolerate it," she stated, her eyes flickering briefly towards Sarah and Claire, assessing them like pawns on a chessboard. "Mom, it's more than just family expectations," Claire broke in, surprising everyone, including herself. "It's about us, too. We need to be our own people." Ethan's heart raced as he watched her expression shift, irritation quickly replacing her initial calm. "Your loyalty to your brother is admirable, Claire, but misguided. You both know what is at stake. Don't you dare jeopardize your future on some reckless whim." "Like having a life that isn't scripted by you?" Ethan shot back, feeling a surge of courage. The words poured out before he could second-guess himself. "We want to make our own choices, even if it means disappointing you." Silence thickened the air, each second winding tighter. He felt Sarah squeeze his hand, her support lending him strength. For once, he was standing his ground. Their mother blinked, her expression a volatile mix of disbelief and anger. "You think choice is what's at play here?" she said, her tone low, dangerous. "Your choices affect not just you, but our entire legacy. Think about that before you decide to act out in defiance." Ethan's stomach twisted. Legacy. That word hung between them like a noose. It wasn't just a word. For him, it was a life sentence. "I've thought about it," he said, trying to keep the tremor from his voice. "And I won't play a part in a legacy that suffocates me." As their mother's glare burned into him, Ethan realized that the balance of power had shifted, if only slightly. He wasn't surrendering, he was reclaiming a piece of himself. "Think about what you're saying, Ethan," she countered, her voice ice-cold. "The world out there is brutal. You have responsibilities. You will stay the course." "Not anymore," Ethan responded, newfound resolve flooding his words. "It's time I figure out who I really am." "Planning to run away with your little friends, then?" she sneered, dismissively gesturing at Sarah and Claire. With a deep breath, Ethan pushed back against that idea. "I'm not running. I'm staying to fight for my life, for who I want to be." "You'll regret this." Her final words dripped with foreboding, and she disconnected the call, leaving only silence in her wake. The tension lingered, and for a moment nobody moved. Claire blinked rapidly, as if coming back from a trance. "Did we just stand up to her?" she asked incredulously, her voice trembling lightly. Sarah's face glowed with pride and relief. "You did! You really did, Ethan!" But beneath the collective relief, a deeper uncertainty settled. What would their mother do next? What stakes had they just raised in this game they unknowingly entered? "I don't know if she'll allow this to go," Claire said quietly, a shadow of worry crossing her face. "Or what she'll do to silence us," Ethan added, a knot tightening in his gut. Suddenly, Sarah's expression shifted. "Whatever happens, we stand together. That's what teamwork means. But we need a plan, a way to take back control." "Right. In the meantime," Ethan swallowed hard, their mother's words echoing in his mind. "We might need to dig deeper, contact someone who understands our situation better. Maybe we can reach out to Dad." Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Ethan, Claire interrupted, eyes wide with concern. Do we really want to go there? What choice do we have? He countered. Outside the chaos, shadows seemed to close in. Ethan could feel the palpable weight of their decisions pressing down on them. As apprehension filled the air, Ethan's mind raced with possibilities, and he realized this was just the beginning of their fight. They stood at the edge of a turning point, and somewhere amidst the tension lay an opportunity to redefine everything they had known. If only they could figure out how. What secrets were buried beneath their mother's iron grip? Each moment felt like a stepping stone towards discovery, but not without cost. How far would they go to uncover the truth? Ethan looked around the room, his mind swirling. The air felt thick with questions. What could they do now? His thoughts raced as he exchanged glances with Claire and Sarah. They all felt the pressing need for an immediate plan. "I think we should start by gathering any information we can," Sarah suggested, her voice a mix of determination and uncertainty. "The more we know about her, about our family, the better prepared we'll be." "Right." Ethan nodded, encouraged by Sarah's initiative. "Maybe we could go through some old family documents. There might be something in there that could give us clarity." Claire's brow furrowed. "But what if Mom gets wind of it? She'll shut us down before we even get started." "Let her try," Ethan said, a newfound defiance simmering in his voice. "We have to take action, even if it means facing her again." The three of them huddled together in the living room, the afternoon sun casting sharp angles across their worried faces. Ethan felt a rush of adrenaline, a mix of fear and excitement. They were standing at the precipice, ready to leap into the unknown. "Okay, let's tackle this in layers," he said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "I can look through the attic tomorrow. There has to be something we missed, maybe something before all the pressure set in." "I'll handle the internet research," Sarah volunteered. "If there are any articles or public records about the company and our parents that can help us, I'll find them." Claire took a deep breath, her gaze shifting toward the window. "And I'll talk to some of the family friends. Maybe they know things we don't, things Mom wouldn't want us to know." Ethan felt pride swell in his chest. They were united. Each step they took now was one less under their mother's watchful eye. "First thing in the morning, then," he confirmed. "We take this seriously." Later, as night wrapped around the house, Ethan lay in bed, his thoughts racing. What secrets hid in the shadows? He thought back to their mother's dismissive tone. Regret, she'd warned. Was there something in their past she was afraid would resurface? He imagined her dark, unyielding gaze, and anger pumped through him. He wasn't going to be afraid anymore. He needed to uncover the truth, to break free from the chains of expectations. Sleep eluded him. Images flooded his mind. Memory boxes from happier times, moments before the weight of family duty pressed heavily on their shoulders. They had been playful, careless, innocent. How had that changed? A noise from outside pulled him from his thoughts. It was faint at first, then louder, a murmur that seemed to echo in the stillness. Ethan crept to the window, peeking through the blinds. Silhouettes of two figures stood under the streetlight, shadows of doubt and determination. He squinted, heart pounding. One of the figures, was that his father? What was he doing here? His pulse raced. Did he really have a plan to help them, or was it another layer of manipulation? He wanted answers, but a nagging fear held him back. Would he even dare to approach the truth? Before he could decide, the figures began to walk away, disappearing into the dark street. His chance gone. The flicker of hope dimmed, replaced by an urgency he didn't expect. As he stood alone, a thought struck him. What if their journey was bigger than just them? What if they uncovered not only family secrets, but something that could change their lives forever? In that moment, a resolve solidified in Ethan. It was time to chase down answers and confront what lay ahead. But at what cost would the truth reveal itself? Would they be ready for what was to come? Ethan awoke the next morning with a sense of urgency coursing through him. The sunlight streamed through his curtains, illuminating the corners of the room that had been shrouded in uncertainty just hours before. Today was the day they would take control of their lives, starting with the attic. After a quick breakfast filled with hushed conversations about the plan, Ethan ascended the creaky staircase, each step echoing his resolve. He pushed the attic door open, and the musty scent of old wood and forgotten memories washed over him. Dust motes danced in the light that filtered through a small window, and debris from years past lay scattered like remnants of time. With a deep breath, Ethan began sifting through cardboard boxes. Childhood books, faded photographs, and random trinkets filled each container. He pulled out a box marked Family History and gently opened it. Inside were journals, family trees, and documents that could either unlock doors or open wounds. His heart raced as he rifled through the papers. Definitions of who they were, tales of laughter, and hints of heartbreak were rendered onto yellowed pages. He needed clarity, needed to understand not just who they were, but what secrets had been buried alongside their memories. Meanwhile, downstairs, Sarah was absorbed in her digital search. Her fingers danced across the keyboard, scrolling through old newspaper articles and archive records. Every click came with the heavy weight of anticipation and fear. Each headline brought her closer to unmasking the family's web of lies. Claire had taken a different approach. She sat nervously in the living room, ready for her phone calls. Each dial tone felt like an eternity. As she connected with their mother's old friends, doubt gnawed at her. Would they reveal anything that could betray their mother? Yet the thrill of peeling back the layers of secrecy fueled her courage. "Hey, it's me," Claire said as she picked up the receiver. "Can we talk?" Ethan's heart sank when a strange rustling interrupted his concentration. He turned and froze. A long, forgotten trunk stood off to the side, partially hidden under a dusty blanket. He approached it carefully, his pulse quickening. Could this be something important? With a little force, he pried it open. Inside lay a collection of old letters, all bound with fraying twine. As he untied them, a smell of musk and nostalgia wafted out. He picked one up, and as he began reading, his breath caught in his throat. The letter spoke of love, but not the kind that was straightforward. It whispered of shame, of choices made in the name of family, and promises broken long before he ever existed. His hands shook slightly as he realized these words could shift everything he thought he knew about his family's past. "Ethan!" Sarah called from downstairs, her voice urgent. "You need to see this!" He clutched the letter tightly, torn between the urge to read more and the need to understand what Sarah had found. The sudden intensity in her voice added to his racing heart. It was as if the universe was pushing him toward a reckoning he wasn't entirely ready for. He dashed down the stairs, the letter still clutched in his hand. What had Sarah uncovered? He could feel the momentum building, adrenaline pumping as the pieces began to fall into place. But with every discovery, another question loomed. What would the truth ultimately cost them? As he reached the bottom of the stairs, determination hardened in his chest. No matter the outcome, they were on this journey together now. What awaited them next? Would the pieces of the puzzle finally come together, or would they unveil unexpected turmoil? Ethan found Sarah standing in front of the computer screen, her eyes wide with disbelief. "You have to see this," she said, her voice barely a whisper. She gestured for Ethan to come closer. On the screen was a photograph from an old newspaper article, the headline stark against the faded print. "Local business tycoon's illegitimate child." Ethan's stomach turned. He squinted at the image. The woman in the photo bore an uncanny resemblance to their mother, a younger version with familiar features framed with vintage hairstyles. His heart raced again, not just from recognition, but the implications that surged forth like a tidal wave. "Is that our mom?" he stammered, trying to grasp the enormity of it all. Sarah nodded, her face pale. It was dated 25 years ago. The article claims she had a child, a boy, with a wealthy man, and it wasn't Dad. Ethan felt sweat trickle down his back. The room felt too small, too suffocating. All his memories of warmth, family dinners, and holiday traditions hit him with vicious clarity. The truth had been lurking, just beyond reach. "What does this mean?" he whispered, afraid of the answer. "It means there's a possibility we've been living a lie. What if we have a brother out there?" The silence that followed hung heavy between them. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "It's not just a brother, Sarah. It's everything. All those years we thought we were a standard family. And now this?" She glanced back at the screen, then at him, eyes shifting between hope and anxiety. "What if he wants to find us? Or worse, what if he comes looking for Mom?" He bit his lip. The thought was terrifying and yet thrilling in an unknown way. The rush of having another sibling could mean joy, yet it also risked shattering the illusions they had clung to. Ethan took a deep breath, drawing on every ounce of resolve. "We have to find out the truth. We can't leave it here, like a dusty trunk in the attic, collecting cobwebs." "Right," Sarah nodded, her pulse visibly quickening. "What do we do?" Claire appeared in the doorway, her phone still glued to her ear. She hung up, sensing the charged atmosphere. "What's going on?" Ethan stepped forward, holding Sarah's shoulder for support. "We might have another sibling. It seems Mom had a son before she met Dad." Claire's eyes widened, then narrowed in suspicion. "That doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't she ever mention him?" Ethan looked at Claire, searching for answers in her worried expression. "That's exactly what we need to find out. We can't let fear paralyze us. We need to ask her, talk to her face to face about it, all of it." "What if she lies? What if she tells us to forget it?" Claire countered, her fingers fiddling anxiously with her phone. "Then we keep digging," Sarah replied, a fire igniting in her tone. "We owe it to ourselves to find the truth." Determined, the siblings gathered closer. They pooled their thoughts, fueled by the desire to protect their family, but also to stand united in the face of a life-altering revelation. As they prepared for the conversation that would change everything, an unsettling thought crept in the back of Ethan's mind. What if their mother had deeper secrets, shadows that had haunted her life? And if they pushed too hard, what if the truth revealed something even darker? One thing was certain. The next few days would test their bonds more than ever before. "Let's do this," Ethan said, finally. "Together." But the road ahead was fraught with uncertainty. With their mother's secrets freshly uncovered, what would they really find? And would the pursuit of truth pull them closer or tear them apart? Ethan's heart raced as they gathered around the dining table, the familiar wooden surface feeling foreign and ominous under the weight of their shared secret. Their mother was due home any minute. He glanced at Sarah, who was tapping her fingers nervously against the table, her expression caught between determination and dread. Claire paced nearby, her mind swirling with what-ifs. "Okay, remember the plan," Ethan said, his voice steady but low, as if the very air around them held the intensity of their hidden discovery. "We'll just ask her directly, no beating around the bush." "Right," Sarah replied, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her apprehension. "What if she, I don't know, freaks out or tells us to stop?" Ethan scrunched his brow. "Then we just listen. We have to be prepared for anything." Claire stopped pacing, leaning against the wall, arms crossed as she studied them both. "What if it's worse than we think? What if this brother... What if we find him and he's not like us? What if he's a stranger?" Ethan sighed, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. "We need to give her a chance. We owe it to ourselves to understand." The front door creaked open, and their mother's cheerful voice drifted in. "Hey, kids, I brought home pizza." Ethan's stomach twisted. The smell of fresh pizza filled the air, a blissful detail that felt utterly out of place. This was not just about a dinner. This was about uncovering decades of buried secrets. He watched as their mother stepped into the living room, her face lighting up with warmth. She was the same woman who had always baked cookies after school, who made them laugh, who had given them everything. "Mom, we need to talk," Ethan said, cutting off her excitement like a knife. She paused, her smile faltering. "What's wrong?" Sarah shot Ethan a glance, urging him on. "It's about the article we found, the one about the child you had before Dad." Their mother's expression shifted, confusion flickering before it settled into guarded calm. "What article? What are you talking about?" Claire stepped forward, nervously biting her lip. "It was in an old newspaper. You had a son, Mom, a brother we never knew about." The air thickened. Silence clung to the room like a heavy fog. He could see the realization dawn on his mother's face like a storm brewing on the horizon. "Where did you see this?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper, almost fragile. Ethan swallowed hard, searching for the right words. "In the archives. It said you had him with someone else, a business tycoon." Her mother took a sharp breath. Her face paled, shadows curling around her features, as if the past was rising from the depths of her heart, inflating the air with secrets. "Mom, please, we just want to understand," Ethan urged gently, hoping to breach the emotional barricade he felt looming between them. She turned away, a single tear slipping down her cheek. "I never wanted you to find out. I hoped that part of my life was over." "But we deserve to know," Sarah insisted, stepping forward, her own voice trembling. "We can't live with this uncertainty any longer." Her mother slowly sank into a chair, her hands shaking as she cradled her face in her palms. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," she murmured, voice breaking. Ethan's pulse raced. He was caught between wanting to comfort his mother and needing to know the truth. Every heartbeat echoed the hope and the fear intertwining in his chest. He needed to keep them connected while pushing for answers. "We can go through this together," he said softly. "Just tell us the truth." For a moment, the world around them faded, and the only thing that mattered was the break in her voice and the depth of her sorrow. She looked up at them, vulnerability painting her features. "I never wanted to hurt you." But before she could continue, a knock echoed from the front door, disrupting the intimate moment and knocking a fresh wave of dread into Ethan's heart. Who could it be? Was it a knock destined to change everything again? "Excuse me." Their mother stood, wiping her eyes hastily, the pain still etched across her face as she approached the door. Ethan, with a mix of worry and anticipation, could only wonder what awaited them on the other side. Did the past have even more secrets to reveal? Would the truth break them apart or finally lead them to healing? Their mother opened the door, and the sunlight spilled into the room, illuminating the shadowy remnants of their previous conversation. Standing there was a tall, confident man Ethan had never seen before. He was dressed in a sharp suit, everything about him radiating authority. But it was the tense smile on his face that sent shivers down Ethan's spine. "Hello," the man said, his voice smooth as silk. "I'm looking for Claire Evans. I have some important matters to discuss." Ethan's heart raced. Who was this man, and why did he want to speak to Claire? Their mother's expression turned from shock to concern, mirroring Ethan's unease. He glanced nervously at his sisters, trying to gauge if they felt the same sense of danger. "What do you want?" Claire asked, crossing her arms defensively. "May I come in?" He glanced at their mother, who hesitated but ultimately stepped back, allowing him to walk into the already cramped space. Ethan felt the tension rise, like the storm clouds gathering overhead before a downpour. They all stood in a semicircle, eyes darting between each other and the stranger, unsure of what to expect. "I assure you I mean no harm," he smiled, but Ethan noticed something unsettling in his eyes. "I'm his attorney, and I've been tasked with finding your family." "Why now?" Claire asked, her voice steadier than Ethan felt. "Why are you here?" The man's lips curved into an enigmatic smile. "Because it's time Theodore should know his family. Your mother's secrets can't stay buried forever, and he deserves the chance to meet the siblings he never knew existed." The air grew still, pregnant with silence. Ethan exchanged glances with Sarah and Claire, frustration bubbling inside him. How could this man just confirm their suspicions like it was nothing? Their mother took a step forward, her face pale again, torn between anger and despair. "What do you want from us?" He pulled out a folder, edge worn and frayed, and opened it, revealing photographs and legal documents. "I want you to prepare for the possibility that he wants to connect with all of you. But first, I need your permission." "Permission?" Ethan scoffed, his voice rising, heart pounding behind his ribcage. "You're talking about our brother, someone we've been kept from our whole lives." The man held up his hand, calm and collected. "I understand your frustration, but the past is complicated, and I'm here to make sure the transition is smooth." Ethan cut him off, an ember of resentment igniting. "Smooth? Do you even understand what this means for us? Do you know what it felt like to grow up without him?" "Ethan, please," their mother said softly, reaching out to stop him. "Maybe it's time to listen." He wanted to dismiss her plea, but a knot twisted in his stomach. She was right. It was time to hear what this stranger had to say. "I assure you, Theodore cares about his family. He doesn't know you, but he deserves a chance to know the truth, and I believe you'll want to know him." Ethan's pulse quickened. Was this really happening? The possibility of meeting him felt like a dream, mingling with a distant nightmare. "What would he want with us?" Claire asked, hesitant but curious. "Love, perhaps," the man offered, his gaze softening. "Or answers. Other than his wealth, there's a side to him that no one understands." Before Ethan could process the weight of those words, there was another quick knock at the door. This time it was sharper, urgent. "What if that's him?" Sarah whispered, eyes wide. Ethan's mind raced with possibilities. What if it was Theodore? Could everything change in an instant? Or would it only deepen their turmoil? Their mother looked between the door and her children, her earlier strength faltering again. Maybe we should see." Ethan's heart thundered in his chest as he stepped forward, hand reaching for the knob. No matter what lay behind that door, he knew one thing. Their lives were on the brink of a knife's edge, and the truth was about to unravel like never before. Would it lead to healing or fracture them further? He turned the knob slowly, unsure of what awaited them on the other side. The door creaked open, the tension pulsing in the air thick enough to cut. On the other side stood an unfamiliar figure, his presence radiating both confidence and uncertainty. It was Theodore, Ethan's long-lost brother, and the resemblance was striking. The dark hair and sharp features shot a bolt of recognition straight through Ethan's chest. "Ethan?" Theodore spoke cautiously, the name hanging in the air like a fragile crystal. Ethan's breath hitched, a mix of disbelief and overwhelming emotion spiraling through him. "You found us," was all he could manage, his voice shaking. The atmosphere felt electric as Theodore stepped into the house, the gravity of his arrival wrapping around them. Claire and Sarah shared a look, a silent agreement of support and trepidation. Their mother stood back, shock shadowing her face, as if she feared the storm her past had unleashed. "Yeah, I did," Theodore replied, his eyes glimmering with both hope and uncertainty. I've wanted to meet you for so long." The lawyer nodded in encouragement, a quiet signal that prompted Theodore forward. "I had no idea," he continued, "that I had siblings. All I knew was that Mom had a different life before everything changed." Ethan felt the walls of their past close in, each breath a reminder of the pain they had all quietly endured. "We didn't know about you until yesterday," he admitted, the rawness in his voice exposed. "Mom kept this from us." Theodore's gaze landed on their mother, confusion and disappointment etched into his expression. "Why?" he asked, that single word draped in hurt. "It was complicated," their mother stumbled, the weight of her decisions crashing down heavier than ever. "I thought I was protecting you all." "Protecting us?" Claire interjected, her voice sharp with frustration. "But look where that's led us." Ethan placed a hand on Claire's shoulder to quell her rising anger. He needed calm, not chaos. Turning back to Theodore, he took a steady breath, trying to piece together this fracturing moment. "What do you want from us?" he asked, striving to anchor the whirlwind. "I just want to be part of the family," Theodore said, his voice steadying as he took a tentative step closer. "I missed out on everything, on you guys growing up, on being included in family gatherings, on love. I've spent years wondering what it would be like to have siblings." The vulnerability in Ethan's voice pierced his defenses. "We wanted the same," he admitted, swallowing hard around the knot in his throat. "But now everything feels broken." "I know," Theodore said, eyes softening. "But if we work together, I believe we can start mending those pieces." With a shared glance, the three siblings felt a spark igniting, a flicker of possibility that they had longed for but fought against. Their mother stood by, a mixture of guilt and relief washing over her, finally realizing the depth of the craving for family that all of them held. "Let's sit," Sarah suggested, motioning towards the dining table that had weathered so many storms of secrets. It felt like a sacred space now, each seat a territory of unspoken dreams and newfound connections. As they settled in, clouds of uncertainty hung overhead, but there was also hope curling through the air. Theodore glanced around the table, taking in each face. "So, what do you want to know about me, my life, my past?" "I think we all want to know why she felt the need to keep us apart." Ethan directed his gaze at their mother, who nodded slowly, tears glimmering in her eyes. "I thought I was shielding you from hurt," she confessed, the tremor in her voice echoing vulnerability. "I didn't want you to suffer because of decisions I made so long ago, but I see now I only created bigger wounds." "What can we do now?" Theodore asked, genuine concern mingling with curiosity. "I want to know you all. I want to be a part of this." Ethan felt warmth building in his chest, the sensation of acceptance finally blooming after years of silence. "Maybe we start by sharing stories," he said slowly. "About our lives, our childhoods. We can fill in the gaps together." And so they began. One by one, they shared their stories, growing up, fear, loss, triumphs, and dreams. The table transformed from a battleground of secrets into a sanctuary of connection. Laughter broke through the heartache, and glimmers of joy pierced their earlier heavy silence. Hours passed unnoticed, and in the gentle embrace of shared experiences, walls came crashing down. The past felt less like a shackle and more like an old friend, one that had served its purpose but was now ready to let go. Ethan found himself laughing alongside Theodore, feeling the warmth of kinship light up his heart. "I always thought family was just about blood," he smiled, "but I see now it's about the bonds we create too." Amidst the stories and laughter, their mother watched, emotions swirling in her heart as she realized the truth stamped in each connection. She had yearned for this moment all along, the chance to mend, to heal, and to embrace the power of family. As the evening wore on, plans were set in motion. The siblings agreed to meet often, to share their lives, to support one another in ways they never knew they could. It became clear they were no longer just strangers bound by blood. They were a family ready to rewrite their story. The last remnants of darkness that had loomed heavy above them began to fade away. Laughter echoed against the walls in a delightful cascade, joy blooming where confusion had once reigned. It was time for new beginnings, fresh ties, stronger love. And in that moment, among laughter and reconciliations, hope danced like a flickering candle in their hearts. In the months and years that followed, they forged ahead, side by side, embracing the unknown while cherishing the moments. They proved that love could triumph over secrets, and in the heart of each sibling blossomed the truth. Family is not merely what we inherit, but the bonds we choose to nourish. As the camera panned out, capturing the familial spirit dancing within their laughter, images of a brighter tomorrow filled the screen. A celebration of lives unbound, showing that sometimes the greatest transformations come from embracing the very truths we fear the most. Now is the time, folks. You need to subscribe now and be part of our journey as we explore more inspiring stories like this one. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with 5 friends who need to feel this transformation. Drop a like right now to fuel the algorithm and keep the magic alive. And leave a comment below. Let us know how this ending touched your heart, what it means to you, and how you found your own family connections. Your support matters.